Welcome back everybody to the Wandering Samurai Study, in which we review and analyze every single act told in Rurouni Kenshin, and today's act is Act 36, Secret Sword. I think that this is a great act if you are a fan of Kenshin. And I don't mean Kenshin in the way of Rurouni Kenshin, the narrative, or the show, or the manga. I mean specifically Kenshin Himura, the Wanderer. I think that if you really vibe with how Kenshin operates, how he thinks, the type of person that he is, his very, mantra, or, it's here. He's basically practicing what he preaches, you know? He's put in a position where he could easily be someone else, and he continues to be Kenshin. Specifically in the way when, handling a challenger such as Raijuta, who straight up says, hey, I want to fight swords with you, I want to match with you. And Kenshin says that he doesn't use a sword for sport. So let's go into the chapter summary, and then we'll talk about these very said points. Raijuta challenges Kenshin to a match with real swords, but Kenshin denies his request, saying that he only wields a sword when it's absolutely necessary and not for sport. Raijuta tries to take the Maekawa Dojo sign and burn it unless someone else is willing to stop him. Kaoru takes the bait, but Kenshin stops her and takes the challenge for himself, on the condition that they use a shinai and it's a single round. The two swordsmen begin their duel, and Raijuta unleashes a powerful strike down, though he misses his target. Kenshin does not strike back, reminding Raijuta that he does not wield a sword to flex his strength. Raijuta comes at Kenshin with a second strike using his secret technique, and Kenshin raises his shinai in defense. Raijuta's strike slices Kenshin's shinai, and the match is over. Irritated by Kenshin, Raijuta and his pupil leave. Yutaro notices his master sweating after the match, and Kenshin recognizes Raijuta's strength. And with this, the Maekawa Dojo incident is essentially over. However, Raijuta is not over, and I mean, there's context clues to let us know that this isn't actually over. It ends with Raijuta, I guess, recognizing Kenshin's strength, even though Kenshin never actually struck back, saying that Kenshin would be good for his Shinko Ryu. And I believe this is just, we'll get more information as we find out what Shinko Ryu means, but when I looked up Shinko Ryu, the very first definition I got, or not so much Ryu, I just looked up Shinko. It means that it's old and the new. So it's something old but hasn't been used, or something of the sort. But I think that in the way of Raijuta is, it's him wanting the old inside of the new. As we've already seen from him, as he's expressed that he does not like the new ways of life, and he's trying to, I guess, bring the old into the new. And the Ryu is the same Ryu from the swordsmanship, or the swordsman style. On the note of Kenshin and Raijuta, I think it's actually pretty cool that we actually get a match between the two characters right from the start, rather than have the characters introduced at the, in the beginning, and then have our central cast come in contact with them, and then have it all kind of lead up to a final confrontation. We get the main antagonist and our hero in the same room at the very beginning, and I really like this approach to the storytelling, especially because of the way that it was handled, as Kenshin never actually showed his strength. All of the participants in the dojo didn't actually get to see Kenshin's strength. As far as Yutaro goes, he doesn't know, or he thinks that his sensei handled that situation, and it wasn't until he left the dojo that he noticed the sweat gland on his sensei that he got kind of cued in to the truth of the matter, as even Yahiko tells Yutaro that Kenshin wasn't even using half of his strength. But Yutaro, having already this weird relationship with Yahiko, he's not going to take his word at face value. It isn't until they left the dojo that he finally understood what Yahiko was telling him, or he could kind of see it for himself. But I really want to kind of get back to Raijuta as a whole, and as far as Kenshin goes. In a way, all of our villains up until this point have had some type of opposite to Kenshin. And that's not really anything crazy, because Kenshin has a very specific way of wanting to live his life that doesn't really jive with other people. I mean, with Jine, he has this whole idea that a manslayer is always a manslayer until the day that he dies. Wanting to play a wanderer is just hiding from his true self. And Kenshin really is insistent on never killing again. So there's the opposite there. I mean, we get this again with Aoshi wanting to hold the title of the strongest, and Kenshin, I guess, kind of more or less having that title and wanting nothing to do with it. The title of being the strongest means nothing to him. So there's kind of like the opposites there. But with Raijuta, I just feel that he's an antithesis of Kenshin. I mean, it's just like his very approach to these situations. Kenshin wouldn't enter a dojo and challenge it outright for glory or for murder the way that Raijuta has. And we even get to see this within the chapter, where we get shots of Raijuta's feet moving, and we know that this is clearly his feet because he's wearing shoes inside the dojo, and then we get shots of Kenshin's feet and he's wearing socks. Like, they're very opposite. Kenshin is tiny, he's a frail man, and Raijuta's huge, he's humongous. Raijuta has this like strike first attitude or approach to his sword style, and Kenshin does not raise his sword unless he needs to. The very first strike, it was Kenshin just simply dodged, but Kenshin didn't actually raise his shinai. And when Raijuta asks him, do you mean to mock him by not striking back? And Kenshin has to remind him that he does not fight for sportsmanship. He does not fight unless it's absolutely necessary. And so then we get a second strike from Raijuta, and only because it was such a unique type of attack, where we have like this little panel of the shinai kind of becoming a little bit wavy, that Kenshin actually had to use his shinai, and it was purely for defense. He never struck back, which I just think is very, very cool. Kenshin has this whole live and let live mentality, and Raijuta's kind of like a bulldozer, just trying to destroy everything in his path. I feel a lot better about this act than I did about the previous one. Now, I noticed something a little bit interesting, and it could possibly be just me reading into this situation more so than it probably is. Okay, so Yahiko and Yutaro's eyes are very different. I mean, the way that Kenshin and Raijuta are opposites, I guess we can kind of see a little bit of opposite in Yahiko and this guy, Yutaro. I'm blanking on his name. But I was noticing during the read that Yutaro's eyes are a lot more circular than Yahiko's eyes. Yahiko's eyes aren't entirely sharp or I guess like jaggedly the way that you could say Kenshin's eyes are during a match or when he's in Batosai mode. But I think that there's something that you can read into these eyes, and it could just possibly be me over analyzing, but just kind of knowing what we know about Yutaro and kind of retroactively, I guess also this kind of fits, and just knowing about Yutaro. His eyes are circular in that they're very naive eyes. Even his approach, if you don't want to look into the future and you don't want to be spoiled, but just knowing what we've already seen from Yutaro as far as these past couple chapters have been, he's very naive in his approach to swordsmanship. He looks at the shinai like it's a toy for children. He looks at his sensei like he's the best, without really having any semblance of what Kenjutsu is in the modern era. His eyes are circular in that there is not a lot of wisdom just there yet. And I believe that there is a line somewhere in this act, or probably in the previous act. It's kind of like a little bit shown that he's kind of like a kid with a silver spoon in his mouth. But when you look at Yahiko's eyes, there's a little bit more curvature into it. They're still circular in the way that Yutaro's are, but there's a little bit more of a curve there. And I think what this signifies, though, is that Yahiko has, even though he's still very much a child and he's naive in a lot of ways, or not, I don't even know if naive is the right word, because he's very perceptive, he's very smart. But what I mean is that he doesn't have like a whole lot of life experience. He did grow up working for the Yakuza in Tokyo, and so he's more or less seen some really nasty things, and he has a little bit of that, I guess, worldly wisdom showing in his eyes. And also, he's a little bit more adept at the sword than probably Yutaro, but we don't actually know that quite yet. Like, Yutaro actually says it in the act. I don't know what just happened, but I know that my sensei was on top. Yahiko, who's a little bit more adept and is able to analyze and perceive things a little bit better, he can assess the situation from his perspective. And I guess the final thing to kind of mention really quick is Kaoru kind of being baited into the fight. I don't know if Kenshin would have actually accepted Raijuta's offer had Kaoru not stepped in, but because Kaoru stepped in, and because of the force that Raijuta had on the sensei, he knows that he can't allow Kaoru to put herself in such a dangerous situation. He would not have let Raijuta kill Kaoru, but Raijuta could have potentially really injured Kaoru, knowing that Kaoru isn't good enough to handle such a foe as Raijuta, who's very strong and very fast. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Act 36 of the Wandering Samurai Study and Act 36 of Rurouni Kenshin. What did you guys think of this act? I think this act was a lot better than the previous act. I kind of had a little bit of a weird moment in the previous act, and I felt a lot better about covering this chapter, and I'm kind of back on board with wanting to see where the story goes from here. Let me know what you guys think down below, and give a thumbs up to the video if you liked it, and share it out to anybody who you think might enjoy this video series. I'll catch you guys all in Act 37 of Rurouni Kenshin. Bye, ciao.